This is my 159th video on my work with OO gauge. See part 1 of this series for my reasons for getting into OO gauge when I already had a lot invested in working in N gauge and I didn't really have a space available for a large, fully operational OO gauge layout. Also see my lengthy series on my N gauge railway modelling for smaller and more complex scenery and smaller scale trains running. This part is by way of being a teaser, an advanced look at a direction I'm heading in, though I haven't really made any concrete progress yet. I've been thinking about Hornby Dublo stuff for quite a while now. I have obtained and run a number of Hornby Dublo items on my layouts made with modern track. In some cases buying Dublo 2-rail items, and in the case of some wagons and coaches converting 3-rail stock to run on modern track by changing the wheels. But I've also been thinking for a long time that I'd really like to have a Dublo 3-rail layout. However, every time my thoughts turned seriously to this, I was brought up by the fact that I simply didn't have space for yet another layout. Yet the subject kept coming back to my mind, and I thought, well, Hornby Dublo was marketed from the very first as the perfect tabletop railway. Surely I could manage to fit a tabletop in somewhere. Well, even this wasn't easy to do, but here it is. I had to move a bunch of stuff, and as you can see, there's still all sorts of clutter under the table. And it's not very big. 6 foot long seemed to be the maximum for which I could really make space. And when I checked around for 6 foot long tables, everything available at a sensible price turned out to be very narrow, around 30 inches or so. Since the dimensions were pretty much the same, I went for an option that was cheap-ish, available locally, and easy to transport. This folding table from Canadian Tire. It comes as a flat folded package, 3 foot by 29 inches and about 5 inches thick, so it's quite easy to move about, and it fitted without a problem into my small car. Of course, the 29-inch width wasn't going to really be enough, so I was going to have to expand that somehow. I bought these flooring tiles from Walmart. They can make a mat area 6 foot by 4 foot. I wasn't really sure if they'd be rigid enough to form a surface for the track by themselves without additional support, but I thought they'd be a good start and they would make a nice surface that would keep the noise down. They're flat on the back, you can see the texture here, but the other side of them is flat. I was originally thinking of going to the full 6 foot by 4 foot. Which would have been nice, but it ultimately seemed to me that this was just going to make getting around the room too difficult, so I scaled back to 6 foot by 3 foot 4 inches, cutting one row of the tiles down to make the reduction, the front row as seen here. I'm still not entirely sure if additional support will be required to prevent the tiles from sagging where they overhang the front and back of the table. If additional support is required, I figure I can buy some 16-inch wide MDF shelving from Home Depot. They sell that in 8-foot lengths, which I wouldn't be able to get in my car, but I can buy 2 lengths and get them to cut 3 foot 4-inch pieces for me. They'll cut stuff down for you in the store. I think they give you 2 cuts free and then charge $1 a cut. But anyway, I'm not going to rush into doing that for now. I'll see how the matting holds up. It's only overhanging by about 5 inches front and back. Of course, 6 foot 3 foot 4 inches is a pretty small tabletop on which to run an OO gauge model railway. I'm definitely only going to be able to do something in the way of the more compact layout suggestions, but here are 6 3-rail layout suggestions that will fit within 6 foot by 3 foot from a couple of Hornby pamphlets that I was able to find online. Having convinced myself that I should actually be able to do some Dublo 3-rail running on a limited scale, I started to buy 3-rail items, mostly from the UK, as there isn't a lot available anywhere else. I did get a couple of items from the USA, making for slightly cheaper shipping, van, I managed to pick up a couple of small items locally here in Canada. This was my first purchase from the UK, a fairly obvious starting point for me given my focus on the LMS for which my family worked. This is the Hornby Dublo Duchess of Atholl train set, which was announced just before the Second World War, but then didn't appear due to wartime exigencies. The set finally went on the market when Dublo production resumed in 1947. It comes with the Coronation-class Duchess of Atholl loco, 2 LMS coaches, and enough track to form an oval with short straights on either side. It also comes with a controller, though I don't expect to be using that. Almost none of the stuff that I've bought has actually arrived yet, so this video is strictly a preview. The next thing that I bought was another loco. This is the 264 tank. It was actually modelled on the BR standard 4 mixed traffic version, but that was based on a long line of LMS 264 tanks, from the original Fowler version through versions by Stanier and Fairbairn, and the BR version is similar enough to the LMS versions to more or less pass if inspection isn't too close. It certainly looks a lot more like an LMS engine than the only tank engine that Hornby actually sold for 3-rail in LMS livery, the 062 tank, very vaguely based on the LNER N2. I'm not going to get that one, as it just doesn't come anywhere close to looking right as an LMS engine to me. But this one, in the right livery, I can live with. In fact, I already have a 2-rail Wren version made from this same tooling, which Wren sold in LMS Crimson livery. But for my 3-rail version, I bought a body that someone had already done a nice job of finishing in LMS Black livery, so when the loco gets here, I'm hoping to be able to fit this body and run the loco like that on my 3-rail track. Since the train set only came with standard straights and curves, I figured I should get some additional track. I don't have a lot of space to work with, but I do expect to have some points and something a bit more complex than a simple oval. I looked at various job lots of 3-rail track available on eBay UK, couldn't see anything suitable in North America, and I settled on this lot as seeming to offer the best value. I won't actually be able to use all of this, but it should provide me with some options. This box of bits came up on eBay UK for £40, and I thought that it was worth getting. There are several buffer stops there, and I will need at least a couple of those, and there are also several Hornby Dublo and Crescent metal signals, and a few other things, including at least one complete water crane. This is one of the items that I was able to source locally, though I still haven't actually picked it up. This is the smaller metal station sold as a Hornby Dublo item. I was also able to get this Dublo metal footbridge locally. Then I ended up buying another train set. I wasn't expecting to, as I didn't think that there was another 3-rail Dublo set that I would want. But I wasn't even aware of the existence of this one until I saw it on eBay. This set apparently came out very much towards the end of 3-rail production and isn't very common. It features a 3-rail Stanier 8F loco in BR livery with several wagons of the later Dublo type with plastic bodies. The set that I bought also came with some additional items, 3 more wagons, a buffer stop, a signal, and a water crane. Again, I haven't received this yet, so I can't be more exact about the contents and their condition. I will be planning to rebadge the loco as LMS. I also bought this book, which is apparently pretty much the standard work on the subject. Books are definitely another of my things. There are hundreds of them in my house, though these days I generally try to resist the temptation to buy more. But I thought that this was definitely something that I would enjoy spending some time with. The lot of track that I bought came with several sets of points, but I had no way of knowing whether those were isolating points or the more common 3-rail standard points, which are not isolating. I much prefer using isolating points, as it makes parking trains in sidings or on branches so much easier, since they can be cut off from the power simply by changing the points, with no need for extra wiring and external switches. So when I saw this set of 5 isolating 3-rail points on eBay at a reasonable price, I went ahead and bought it. I do know that these are isolating points, as the listing included pictures showing the points from underneath. You can see the switching arrangements and the wires to carry the power separately from the 2 poles of the switches to the branch rails. The standard points have no electrical switches and just have wires soldered directly from the incoming centre rail contact to the 2 outgoing centre rail contacts. This isn't strictly speaking a Dublo item at all, but I saw someone in a YouTube video using this engine shed with their Dublo 3-rail layout, and I thought that it looked pretty good. I also enjoy building these kits, and this is one that I've never attempted. This is the super quick 2-track engine shed kit, so I'll be building that at some point with the idea of using it with my 3-rail track. I couldn't resist this. This is the 3-rail TPO set. This is quite different from the later Hornby versions, which are operated by levers underneath the coach being pushed up to operate the mechanism. This version has a mechanism that is electrically powered. It picks up power from a special extra rail beside the 3 regular rails, and you have to actuate a switch to pass power to that rail, which will then be picked up by the contact protruding from the side of the mail coach, causing the coach to open its bits for dropping off and picking up mail. I'm not all that confident about getting this to work, but it should be an interesting exercise. I don't see the switch that's supposed to come with a set in this picture, but if that's missing, it should be fairly simple to provide something that will do the switching. It's just a straight on-off switch, basically, a momentary one with a button that comes with the set. The 2 little metal mailbags that come with the set are included in this picture, and those would be harder to replace than the switch. I bought this other Dublo station from the USA. I figured that I should probably be able to combine this and the smaller station on a sort of branch station on my 3-rail track. I couldn't resist getting one of these Dublo-level crossings. These are another item that's somehow very iconically Dublo. I also picked up the Dublo signal cabin. Honestly, it strikes me as a bit weird. I guess Hornby were aiming for a very modern image, although I can't say that I ever recall seeing an actual signal box that looked like this. Still, it's certainly a very common item to see along with Dublo 3-rail running. Finally, I picked up this assortment of detailing items. Again, not strictly Dublo, I don't think any of them are. But several of the items are die-cast and very much appropriate to the Dublo period, so I think they'll fit right in alongside my 3-rail track. That's it for now, folks. There will, of course, be more on this, probably quite a bit more, as these items arrive, but at the moment I have neither any 3-rail track nor any 3-rail loco, so I'll have to wait until I have those in hand to attempt my first 3-rail running.